Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Friday, November 7th, 2025, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm out here in the van/recording studio, and I'm doing a little something different with the lighting to try to cut down on the reflection on my glasses, so we'll have to see how this works. But so today I've got a pretty fascinating update for you on the Bigfoot Stuff video, and it's an update on the last Bigfoot Stuff video where I talked about Marlene. And holy cow, some things happened there. So I'm going to try to get this straight, this first take on this. And there's a lot of moving parts. So if I get a little bit mixed up and have to back up, please be patient with me. But basically, the bottom line is that we were actually able to help Marlene, and we helped her make the transition and to pass over. And let me tell you a little bit about how that all came down. And now, once again, I'm going to call my friend in Utah. I'm going to simply call him Utah. And my other friend over in Nevada, I'm going to call her Nevada. And then I've got a third one now, a lady from Michigan, and so I think I'll just call her Michigan. And I've got a couple other stories too, but let me tell you what ended up happening is that in my last video I had put out a call and said, hey, if any of you are mediums out there, or know somebody, or if you live in that area around Carbondale, Illinois, and know about this incident, then reach out to me and let me know. Well, I had one of my viewer friends from up in Michigan, who is also a medium and who also has frequent contact with the Sasquatch family who lives near her. Well, I've talked to her on the phone before, so she had my phone number, so she reached out to me and gave me some pretty detailed information, and quite remarkable. And I'll get back to that here in a minute, but we were trying to figure out what we were going to end up doing. Well, Nevada, I told you before, she's been a medium for decades, and she spoke with the departed, and she's helped quite a number of people make the transition into the afterlife, and who are stuck here, and so we were talking among the three of us, and finally I got Utah and Nevada. They were on the phone, and so she told him, basically gave him a crash course on how to do it. And he had been trying to reach out to her, to Marlene, and wasn't having any luck. But Nevada kind of coached him on the process and how to go about it, and it's not real complicated. And so this went on, and Utah was trying to enlist the forest people for their help, and he got a little hint that Jolene is working with some people back there, some Sasquatch people back there, and to find out exactly where Marlene's remains might be. Well, last Tuesday, full moon, Utah went up to his normal spot, and and we've all heard the stuff about the veil is thinner on the full moon and this kind of thing, and I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds logical. But anyway, he once again, while he was up there, he reached out to Marlene. Marlene, can you hear me? And she answered, and it surprised him. And so basically, he did exactly what Nevada had told him to do. And Marlene was real hesitant, but he talked to her and he said, it's okay. You can let go. And when she finally did, all of a sudden, bam. And so let me tell you what Nevada told him the process is. He says, pretty simple, you're using your energy to help the person that's trying to cross over. And so what you do is in your mind, you create a doorway with a bright light behind it. And you say, come, and you just tell them it's okay. Your friends are waiting, your family's waiting. Come to the light. And a lot of the spirits are hesitant to do that, especially, we still don't know when Marlene died. We don't know when that was. But she'd been apparently roaming around for a while, and she was pretty hesitant to do anything. Well, my friend calmed her down and said, it's okay, it's okay. And he said it felt like she, kind of, let go of the handrail, and immediately drawn through the door, through the light, and the door closed behind her. Instantly it was dark. Boom, it was done. That quick and that simple. And so, my friend was flabbergasted by that. And so, of course, he told me about it. And so we've been talking with Nevada as well. And, he called and talked to Nevada, and she said, yeah, that's exactly how it's done, and that's exactly how you feel, and and that. So shortly, after that, then Jolene had contacted him, and Jolene kind of indicated, yes, they do know where the remains are. And so we're trying to figure out how to deal with that. Well, he reached out and was talking with Mickelboss, the elder, and he asked Mickelboss, is this? Did you people set this up? Did you people organize this for me to help this lady? And Mickelboss said yes. And so they were trying to help this lady cross over, and they kind of enlisted our group to kind of do that, and it worked. So now, my friend's head's still spinning over this. Well, now let me tell you what happened just this morning. I woke up about 3:30 a.m. I had my bladder woke me up like constantly, like commonly happens with us old folks. And I got up and I did my business, and I laid back down in the bed. And I laid there for not too awful long, and I felt an energy. And it did not feel like a Sasquatch energy. And Nevada has talked to Utah and also with me about what the energy of the spirit people feels like. And that's the only thing I could think of. Well, I responded back and I asked for a name. And the name I got was Celeste. No last name, just the name Celeste. And it quite time felt to me like a female. And of course, that's a female name. And so I was trying to get information from Celeste, and I asked her initially. I said, "Are you one of the Sasquatch people?" No answer. And I said, "Are you the spirit of a dead human?" Yes. Are you wishing to cross over? Yes. So now all of a sudden I'm thinking, wow, now I'm involved in this. And so I asked Celeste. I said, can you tell me what happened? Plane crash. Okay. So Celeste was, she's pretty straightforward, and I didn't really get the sense of fear and anxiety and stuff like that Utah had described as Marlene having. So anyway, I tried doing exactly the same thing that my friend in Utah did. I tried to create in my mind the lighted doorway, and what he said is that he tried to envision. If you remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and you remember the scene there toward the end where the mothership is hovering there and the platform comes down with the bright light. And well, that's what he said. He tried to recreate that in his mind. And so I decided I'd try to do the same thing. And so I tried, in my mind, I tried to create this. And now, in order to really kind of explain what happened, I have to kind of explain how my bedroom's laid out. And my bedroom is the second floor above a two-car garage. And the garage is 26 foot deep. And my bedroom is the majority of that in width. So it's about 13 wide by about 26 long, if you will. The stairway's at one end, the bed's at the other. And so I'm laying on my back. My wife is sleeping to my left. and the stairway is to my right, clear down the other end of the bedroom. Well, that's where this energy appeared to be coming from. So when I tried to create this lighted doorway, if you will, in my mind, I did it kind of high and to my upper left. Well, as soon as I did that, I felt an energy that literally felt to me like it came right through me, just from one side to the other, my whole body, from my right side all the way through to my left side, and went to that light, and instantly that light was turned off. Now, in his case, he said it was like the door closed, but in my case, it was like somebody turned a switch off. It was just boom, and it was done. And I'm trying as hard as I can to recreate that light, because I didn't think it could happen that fast. I could not in my mind recreate that light again, not for a while. But it was over with that quick, and I had no further contact with the Celeste. And so I'm thinking, is that how easy and how quick it is? So, obviously, by that time, that was between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And of course, there's no way in heck I'm going to go back to sleep after that. So I got up, and as I started down the stairs, I got a last name and popped into my head. And initially, I'm thinking, oh, this is this person's last name. And it still might be. But it turns out that there's a TV reporter, popular TV reporter on one of the Phoenix news stations with the same name. And so I think it's a pretty good chance that name just flowed normally, because I've heard of her for years. And so I'm kind of thinking that that's not the right name. But so anyway, I go downstairs and I get my coffee, and I'm sitting in my chair, and my wife is still upstairs sleeping. And I got the little morning tingle, and I reached out, and it was Roheen. And Roheen, of course, is my teacher, and he's Utah's teacher. And I said, Roheen, did I just help this Celeste person? Did I help her cross over this morning? Did that really happen? Yes. So everything that I think happened. I asked again. Yes. Did your people have a hand in organizing that? Yes. And that was amazing. My head was spinning most of the day just thinking about that. Well, then this afternoon I had a long talk with Nevada, and and she told me, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And basically, what she was doing, Celeste wasn't going through my body like it felt like. It felt like she was running right through the middle of my body like a freight train. But what she was doing was using my energy. I'd used my energy to turn that light on, open that doorway, lighted doorway, and she was using my energy to go there. And she had apparently, before she passed away, she had heard about the going to the light thing. So as soon as she had the opportunity, she didn't wait around. And the whole episode, from the time that I felt her energy, and I reached out and asked her name, until the whole thing was over with, was probably less than 5 minutes, maybe less than 4 minutes. It was really fast. And it was over, and it was done. So let me tell you some little sidebars to this, is that Jolene has come back and told Utah that they do know where Marlene's remains are. And the lady from Michigan, my friend from Michigan up there, she came back with some very, very detailed description of what happened when Marlene died, and up to and including describing her clothing, what she was wearing, and what the male human who was there at the time even described what he looked like and what he was wearing. Now, we've been told that since that incident happened, that this male has passed away, which indicates to us that maybe the incident did happen a long time ago and not real recent. But what was interesting there is Utah had been given a visual before I shot that last video. He'd been given a visual of Marlene walking down a rural highway. And I think I mentioned that in that last video. And what the Michigan lady described for clothing absolutely, totally, to a T matched what Utah had seen in that visual. So maybe she was walking down the highway and they people drove by and stopped and recognized her and said, "Hey, do you want to go party with us?" And that she maybe overdosed. And but she said that when they went to find her, they rolled her down a ravine, not a very long ravine, but she was actually able to describe exactly how they did it. And and that the male, that his first name began with a C, and she wasn't real sure about it, but it said she gave me what she thought was the name, and it began with a C. So any of you other folks that are still out there, we're still interested in more information on this case. We've been kind of torn over how to handle it now that that we've been able to help Marlene cross over. And one part of us says that we should continue to follow up on this and to help solve the case, so to speak, and see if we can figure out where it happened. And because there's 3 questions that we still have, big questions. So if you're a medium watching this, the 3 questions we have is, of course, we'd like to know the last name. Now, I was given that last name, and I think I mentioned that in the last video as well. And I don't know if it's accurate, but it does match a recent missing persons case out of the state of Washington with a 28-year-old female, a very, very similar name. And so I'm thinking maybe that's where this kind of motorcycle in the background, you can probably hear it, a very similar name, and I think that might be where that name came from. So I'm not sure that the name is accurate, which is why I haven't said anything about it. But anyway, we're still interested in knowing what Marlene's last name is. We need to know when this happened and where this happened, and we're still interested in that information. Now, what are we going to do with it if we find it? Well, we're still kind of not sure. Now, being my background, my background is, tell the authorities and see if they can go find her remains and all that kind of stuff. We can't reach out now because we don't have a close enough location. All we've got is southern Illinois, and there's a lot of places in southern Illinois. We don't know what county. We have no idea. But anyway, but then Nevada, a lady from Nevada, she says that she brought a whole nother aspect to the table, and that is that if we out of the blue, and if we reach out and try to tell our story to law enforcement, they might either laugh at us thinking that we're all whack jobs, or if we come up with information that nobody from the outside would know, that might put us in a position of being suspects, and we're not real interested in doing that either, because obviously we didn't have anything to do with that. When I was talking to my wife about this, she pointed out that if this happened a really long time ago, and she pointed out a particular year, and she said, well, I'd have been about 12 years old at the time, so no, it wasn't me, But anyway, we're still pondering over how to handle that part. Now let's fast forward back to Celeste again. I have a possible last name for Celeste, but like I said, it matches a name that current, so that might be why it sounded so familiar to me. So I've done some research on people named Celeste that have died in plane crashes, and the one that came up was a lady was killed in 1975 in a crash of an Air Force plane. And so I'm kind of thinking maybe that this is more recent than that. So what I've thought about is that we had that plane crash in Kentucky, that UPS cargo plane crash in Kentucky, and they're still not sure how many people that lost their lives on that. So I'm paying real close attention to when they finally do identify and they make notification next to kin and they release the names of everybody that was involved in that. If there's somebody named Celeste that ends up on that victims list, I think that possibly may be the Celeste that we're dealing with. And that's going to be real interesting to follow up on that. So pay attention to that kind of stuff over the next days and weeks when they're still investigating that plane crash, because this is pretty weird. So let me tell you about some other updates. I had a lady reach out to me from Massachusetts, and she a couple pretty interesting things about her is that she says that she can remember. She believes in reincarnations and past lives, and I'm certainly not going to say I do or don't believe in any of that, because I've run into enough stuff now that I've always believed is impossible. I never say anything's impossible anymore. But she can remember her past lives in great detail. And she also lives in the same general neighborhood where she grew up as a little kid. And so she's lived there the whole time. The house she grew up in is about a half a mile from the house she lives in now. And she's been having all kinds of stuff happen that lead her to believe that they've been trying to reach out to her. And one of the odd things that's happening is she said sitting in her backyard, there's a tree against the wood line over there, and she's frequently seen a barred owl in daylight sitting in that tree staring at her house. Well, that's not normal owl behavior. And so, of course, that call that a clue. So anyway, she sent me a big long email. I called her and talked to her on the phone. And so right at the time, I said, let's try this. Let's try something. And so we did the same thing that I tell everybody else to do. I tried reaching out through her, and if you're here, can you give her some indications you're here? Well, she got zapped instantly. And so I said, how many of you are here right now? Got number 4. Can you give us a name? The name she got was Bobble. Well, Bobble turned out to be a male, and I don't remember the exact number, but he was in his early 90s, I believe. So he was probably the patriarch of that family group there. And so we asked about how many in your family group, and we got 2 numbers. We got 5 and 7. And we didn't know exactly what all that meant. Well, it came so quick and so instantly that I told this lady, I said, you're there. You're getting mind speak. You're getting a name. The family group is there. They know you. They've probably known you ever since you were a little kid. And so I told her, I said, go ahead and I think our work here is done, and go ahead and talk to them. And so we hung up the phone call, and she sent me a text message the next morning, and she told me that she had a nice long conversation with Bobble, and that he has a mate, and his mate's name is Emma. And what the 5 and 7 meant was that their basic family group is 5, 2 males, 3 females, and the 7 meant that 2 of the females were going to have babies. And so there was going to be 7 of them. And she was just absolutely overjoyed about even when I was talking with her, when she realized what was happening, she started crying. And I asked her, I said, why are you crying? And she says, this is just so overwhelming. Well, she had some very, very nice things to say about me in her email, in her text message that she sent me the next morning. And of course, I can't read text messages and film on a phone at the same time. So, I thank her very much, and I'm glad I was able to help her. Well, at the same time that this was going on, I also got an email from a guy out of California, basically the Lake Tahoe area. And he was another one, and he told me that he'd been watching my videos for quite some time. He watched the Bigfoot Stuff number 1 through Bigfoot Stuff number 10 multiple times. He'd watched my 100th Bigfoot Stuff video on how to make contact, and that he'd been trying. And so I made arrangements to talk to him, and this was yesterday morning. And so we spoke on the phone, and he was actually at his place of work, which is in a rural area, and he lives in a rural area. And he was actually out sitting in his pickup when he was talking to me. Well, after I talked to him a little bit, and we reached out to see if we can make any contact, and we did. We got a male named Advark. And if I remember correctly, Advark told us he was 98 years old. And but we got that contact right away. He got notification he got notice it. They got zapped to tell him they was here. The tingle I call light zap. And then he had this conversation through me with Advark. And he got the name, I didn't. And the name and the age and all that kind of stuff. Well, meant he got MindSpeak. He got a name, the family group. It's a half a mile from his, 5 minutes, he said, from his house to where he works at. So that means that's the same family group that's at his house. So I was able to help him make contact. Now, I've gotten a couple of text messages from him today, and he said he's been really trying, but he has not been able to reestablish that contact again. And I told him, I think maybe you're trying too hard. It's on their time. They'll do it on their time schedule, and when they feel you're ready, they'll reach out and talk to you. You know they're there because you've talked to them. And so a couple of other little quick ones before I let you go. And I had coffee this morning with a viewer friend who actually was in town, and he lives in Tucson, and he was in town. I've talked about him before. And so I had a really nice visit with him, and we sat over and talked for about an hour over at Noli's over a cup of coffee. And then this afternoon, when I had to stop over at the Walmart Supercenter to pick up a few things, and as I got out of the truck and started walking toward the store, a guy called out to me and says, "Hey, I watch your YouTube channel." I stopped and talked to him for a little bit, and he's another viewer friend, a local, and started talking with him a little bit. He's had some activity. He's hiked quite a bit out in the hills, and we started talking about, well, has this ever happened? Does that ever happen? And his eyes get big, and yeah, that has happened. Well, he's had his encounters as well, and he and I are going to get together for coffee another day, and we'll see if we can draw some more information out of him. But one of the coolest things about having a YouTube channel and doing what I do is having the viewers reach out to me, and also having locals that actually recognize me from seeing me on the videos. And I got to tell you, that's pretty cool. It kind of makes me feel a little bit like a rock star. So basically, that's all I've got for this one. Now, once again, if you're from the Carbondale, Illinois area, and you remember an incident happening, a missing persons incident, or if you're a medium back there, or you know a medium, or you know somebody that maybe is retired law enforcement or something that might remember that, if you have any information for me, go ahead and reach out to me via my email, and I'll put it in the description of the video here, and let me know, because we'd still, we've helped Marlene make the crossing into the great beyond. But we're still kind of curious about the incident, and we're still not quite sure how we're going to handle that part. But we can't handle it in any way if we don't have the information. So if you have that information, pass it on to me, and then we'll just make a decision on what we're going to do from there. But other than that, I guess let me tell you, like I always do, take care of each other and love each other. Take care of yourself. Show gratitude for everything you have, because there's a whole lot of people who are worse off than you are, I'm quite sure. And there's people living in the world right now that aren't sure where their next meal's coming from, and not sure where they're going to live to see the sunrise tomorrow morning. And fortunately, the vast majority of us are in certainly better shape than that. So until I talk to you again, I guess there's nothing more to do than just tell you, peace out.